The United States war on crypto rages on. We'll be talking about that and plenty more today on Money Never Sleeps. As we get going, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing we say is financial advice. Kevin and I are not financial advisors. We are a couple guys who love following the markets, nerd out about this stuff. So please use this as a fraction of your research, but do plenty of your own research when it comes to any buying or selling decisions. Kevin, we recorded yesterday's show. Shortly thereafter, news came out that the CFTC is suing CZ from Binance for violations of just their use of U.S. consumers and allowing them to trade on their platform. So it has been a wild few days. We had the Wells notice for Coinbase. We have this. We have stuff with Ripple. We found out there are more charges against SBF regarding Chinese political contributions. It's getting absolutely crazy out there. The price of crypto took a little bit of a hit yesterday, but this is you can always count on it to take a little bit of a dump when news like this happens and then rebound a bit. So we've seen it rebound slightly. Also looking at the TradFi markets, we're pretty flat across the board. Everything is trading around down 0.5% to up 1/3%. So not a whole lot happening in the markets. There was some economic data today, nothing too monumental. The biggest thing I saw was that actually U.S. consumer confidence is at a higher level than was expected. That makes me even more bearish. So how are you doing today? What are your thoughts on everything going on? And how do we want to start this off? Because there's plenty to talk about.
Definitely. Well, first off, consumer confidence, that scares me. I didn't see that at all. Again, when it comes to consumers, not necessarily the people I want to trust when it comes to finances. So if they're feeling pretty okay with the entire market, and again, this is something that I said yesterday. It's like we're going into Q2. This is when we start seeing low volume. Maybe the banks haven't collapsed yet, so they're thinking, okay, you know what, everything's fine. My elected officials came out and said, don't worry, all deposits should be expected to be or expect them to be,
Thank God, because we can
as
definitely trust what they're going to say.
100%. Just like when they said that inflation was transitory, and that they can bring down the rate of inflation without hurting the labor market. So that's just some stuff that they have a good track record on. But point is, whenever I hear retail is confident about something, it usually tells me the markets eventually will go the opposite way of what they're thinking, because they know that, well, they're not expecting this. So again, I'm not going to time the markets, but it's only a matter of time before we start to see this narrative finally unfold. But the big stuff yesterday was with CZ. Obviously, the CFTC came out. They threw some charges down. And while we haven't seen Coinbase get charged with anything yet, they just got the Wells notice. Eventually, that probably will lead to some type of lawsuit from the SEC. The stuff with Binance is pretty interesting because it's not necessarily something that other exchanges haven't done in the past. And the one accusation is that they had trading accounts, I believe 300 of them, where they were able to see all the customers, longs, shorts, their liquidation levels and stuff like that. And they were trading to wipe them out. And this was something that I brought up back in October when we were talking about FTX. That was one of the centralized exchanges that had absolute access to doing all that stuff. Now, necessarily, is that the case with Binance? I don't know. I think a little bit of each exchange probably does this just because there's so much information. It's easy for them to make money. But it'll be really interesting. I still don't. I actually really like Binance. Again, not financial advice. Use it. Don't use it. But the trading platform itself has just been super beneficial, I feel, when I've used it. And to see this happen, I think it's a little bit of FUD. There's just stuff coming out right at the wrong time. It just seems like they're taking on a lot of stuff. But I don't think it's going to hurt Binance internationally. Maybe it causes some pain in the U.S. markets, like there's tons of regulation, but I think Binance is too strong internationally. I think that a lot of other places in the world are going to be super open to crypto, and it's less regulation and more just capitalism that's kind of bleeding through. So it'll be really interesting to see. But I think this is a little bit of FUD. I think the only markets this might hurt is the U.S. market.
Yeah, I agree. We're seeing once again, and I've said it before, but American politicians and the politics here are just slowing everything down while the rest of the world is moving forward. The U.S. wants to control everything. I don't think you can be an American and talk shit about China being authoritarian with what we're seeing right now in crypto. It's pretty infuriating. And I just think that they're just missing, like they clearly want to control everyone's money. They want to eventually release their own central bank digital currency so they can then track everything that you're doing with your money. It's pretty disgusting and very, very frustrating. Now, I will say on like the Coinbase thing, if there is a suit brought against them, I'm not a legal expert by any means. My only guess is that this will be in court for years, years and years and years. I mean, we've seen one of my points around that is just like all of these other crypto lawsuits, NFT ones, these bigger ones are going on for 12, 18 months at least, and this would be far bigger than any of those. So I don't think do what you think is best. I still believe you should self-custody. If you want to use Coinbase or whoever to buy your crypto and then move it to self-custody, that's how I would be handling it right now. But I would not be holding a significant amount of money on any centralized exchange. It does not feel worth the risk at this point.
No, I couldn't agree more. And again, that's been always my concern throughout this bear market. Where do I keep my money, but also keep it on hand in case the market drops, where you can deploy that capital. So I think self custody is 100% the only way you can possibly do that. Whether that's stables or USD, I'm in USD. I'm not playing games right now with anything on the blockchain. So just until stuff starts to finally begin to fade. And by fade, I mean prices start dropping like crazy. But point is, a lot of this stuff I think the U.S. is tackling on more than they could potentially handle. I mean, I think the SEC case against Ripple is extremely drawn out. A lot of people are expecting that to be settled. I don't think it's going to be settled. I think this is going to get to the point where it's just like, no, we're going to win. We're not going to settle with the U.S. We're not going to settle with the SEC, because if we do, then, well, what's the point? They're just going to start getting money out of all these other exchanges. And also, it's at a point where it's like they've kept the price of Ripple so limited because they've pretty much not allowed anyone in the U.S. to easily access it. It's still possible to access, to the exchanges like KuCoin, MEXC, using non-KYC methods to acquiring XRP, but for the most part, XRP was like one of the top traded coins on Coinbase and Binance.us. So limiting the market like that, I think that they're going to draw this out to the very end, and I don't think that they're going to play by any rules. And like you said, this could be way longer with Coinbase because this is the most probably crypto-friendly exchange out there. It's probably the gateway for a lot of people. This is similar to how Robinhood could be for a lot of other people too. But yeah, this is going to be something that I think plays out if there is any lawsuit that gets placed or thrown at Coinbase. Binance and stuff right now. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But yeah, there's definitely some crackdown that's coming in the U.S. to the point where I think a lot of the people who are building in the U.S. are going to be on the side of the country. Just, I don't know. I don't see it being crypto friendly in the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe Coinbase will let some people who are crypto friendly. Who knows? But time will tell.
Yep, absolutely. I think we also need to touch on the banking concerns. It's not over yet, folks. Like, no matter what your politicians tell you, the fact that there hasn't been as much news. I've seen some reports. Companies like Charles Schwab, who are viewed to be like as safe as it gets, are starting. There's some concern around them as far as keeping cash on hand, the amount of the rates on like some of the bonds they're holding, all these other things. That is pretty concerning and could lead to another steep pullback and a run on Schwab. Like, people are moving money out of Schwab accounts pretty quickly to hold in other places where they can make more money. So I think you just got to stay vigilant, stay on top of these things, because it is not over. We're going to see another shoe fall. The contagion has not stopped spreading yet. Contagion is no longer the word of the week, but I'm still going to use it because we can't forget about what's happening there. So kind of the final thing on banking. There was one piece of news yesterday that I thought was pretty interesting. And I know that we mainly focus on, TradFi and crypto, but this was from the world of NFTs. We saw that Ticketmaster announced yesterday that they're going to do their first ticket sale that is token gated to NFT holders. So it's going to be with the band Avenged Sevenfold. They have a tour coming up. And if you hold, they have their own NFT collection. And if you hold one of their NFTs, you have priority to buying tickets to the show. So you're not going to have to deal with fighting with bots, any of that stuff. There's going to be no queue. You're just going to be able to go in and buy your tickets. So I think that is, one bright spot in the crypto world of, adoption is happening. We're seeing progress being made. Ticketmaster has done quite a bit in the past with NFTs as far as like more commemorative stuff, but this is the first time that any ticket token gated access will be granted. And I think we'll continue to see this in the world of sports, entertainment. And we'll see it in, the sneaker industry is another big opportunity for it, because we know that bots are a huge part of that. And that's going to slow down that and actually get products into the hands of consumers that want them, which is what these companies, ideally, this is their ideal outcome. So I think there are some positive things happening out there, but all of the headlines are really bad. So you got to kind of have to dig for those positive pieces of news. But with that being said, we're going to look at a few charts today. Like I mentioned at the top, nothing crazy has happened. We don't need to really, Bitcoin and ETH have just kind of moved sideways. We don't need to spend too much time there. We can take a look at Matic, any other tokens that you think are worth looking at, or any other stock charts that you think are worth looking at, Kevin. So let's get going.
Awesome. Let me just pull up. We're just going to look at the DXY, just see how it's doing. Nothing really crazy to talk about there. A lot of this is more just seeing how the dollar's reacting. Obviously, we were anticipating some negative price action, probably closer to this double tap of 102.038. We're coming down. The daily looks like it is continuing to stay oversold at the moment. If you look at the weekly, obviously, there's still room to the downside. So the dollar's pulling back just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. I'm not too worried right now on the daily, but let's see how it's influencing some of the other charts. So let's pull up Matic. This was one that me and JWeb talked about all the time on the old show. We had a bet that it would hit 30 cents or whether it wouldn't hit 30 cents by, December 5th, 2023? Yep, there it is. There it is, everyone. But so this is something that's been really interesting to me, because Matic was absolutely resilient in this entire bear market from the June low of 2022 all the way till, let's see, when was the high put in? February of this year. Yeah, hidden high of $1.56. And when it put in the June low, it was at 31 cents. So it's been pretty resilient. That's a pretty amazing ROI if you were able to buy down to that 31 cent and then you sell at the top up there. But you see this pattern that it's put in. It's put in a massive parallel channel. It's been shooting up. We broke out of it once. We came above it, and we broke out of it again. We're currently out of it. The question for me is, we're seeing tons of low volume on the weekly. It's not a lot of volume that's coming in from Matic, especially in the past few weeks. And we can see here, obviously the volume's coming down here too. And we are on the daily hitting this 200 EMA. So we're right here. We're probably trapped between 200 and the 50 right now in the daily. Let's see if this holds. That's going to be really interesting. I still think that Matic has a massive leg to the downside. If we look at the weekly, we bounced off the 50 moving average, and we're at 106 right now. And that's pretty interesting, because Matic's been, like I said, super resilient. Is this because of Bitcoin dominance? Yeah, absolutely. I think that has a huge play in it. I also think that people who are in Matic are profit. They're trying to drop everything forward, maybe the next leg down. So when I look at Matic, I still see the same things I was seeing a few months ago. I think that this macro bear flag has not broken completely yet. I do expect it to break. Certain limits. I expect 75 cents. I expect 64 cents, 47, and then down to 29 cents. 29 cents is just around 30 cents is, again, what I target. I see Matic going long term, or just even in the next few months potentially, and that would just be just a little bit lower than where we put in at June. That would be confirmed that bottom wasn't in at June. We got a new bottom, but at the same time, it would be considered almost like a double bottom as well. So that's something I'm seeing with Matic. Nothing in the long term has changed with it. I still think maybe into the next bull run is going to be super bullish, but for the time being, it's not heavily manipulated, but the price definitely is at a point where there's still tons of room to the downside potentially.
All right. Well, it's not going to go to 30 cents. So I think we can just ignore that entire part of the analysis right there.
Okay. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity for a lot of people. And one of those people would be me.
Me too. I would be buying at those levels again.
Definitely. So let's pull up XRP. XRP is another coin that we were talking about earlier. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about it a little bit last week. And again, there's a lot of stuff happening as the month ends. People think that there's going to be updates, some news from the judge that maybe there's a settlement. We're just going to get information on the case at the end of this month, and we see the price shooting up like crazy. But again, look at the daily, you see the price going up, the volumes are coming down. It's the Kessler's high is going pretty high. We're not completely overbought yet, but we're going in that direction. Probably by the end of today, after this pretty good green candle we've seen, we'll probably be overbought. And if we look at the weekly, we're above 200 EMA. And now here's the interesting thing. This thing put in a death cross back in January. And the important thing to remember is that a death cross means most likely that there's going to be some negative price action. However, doesn't mean that there can't be a quick leg up before there's a massive leg down. This has happened in not every time, but in a good amount of cases where there is death cross, we do see pumps to the upside right before obviously all the liquidity is drained from the asset itself. Right now we're above the 200 EMA. We wicked above it last week. This week we're above it, probably close above it this week. My target for XRP in the short term, obviously I'm not bullish on this thing, but I think that 55 cents would be a good target just to get a double top. And that double top would be from here back in October and then here back in September. And then we also can see here that back in April of 2022, we found support up there, we bounced up. So we got support here, support back in January of 2022. So we got support, resistance, and we're just so close. I wouldn't be surprised if we just need to build this gap right here before making the next move to the downside. And again, we were trading in this flag right here. This is a parallel channel. These tend to break to the downside, but with the amount of low volume that I'm seeing, how close we are to this resistance level, and all the news and the FOMO that's coming out, maybe people thinking that, okay, maybe this will usher in a new bull market because the SEC is going to lose this case. I wouldn't hold your breath. That's all I'll say. I think that it's important to keep expectations in line. Remember that that XRP, a ton of the supply is owned by Ripple. So I'm not saying that they're manipulating the price, but I'm just saying with how many people that hold these tokens, it's very easy to manipulate price. Again, with low volume and everything we're seeing tons of XRP moving from wallet to wallet right now, from exchange to wallets, from wallets to exchange. Supply, demand, you need to know what supply is on these exchanges that's driving the price up. That would be one case of seeing low volume. So keep an eye on that. I think that 55 cents might be our local top if we are able to push up there. But I do think that going into the summer months, maybe into autumn, again, not timing the markets, but thinking long term, we got to come down. I think the low for XRP hasn't been put in, and for me, I'm eyeing that 17 cents to like 20 accumulation. Yeah, that's the level I'll probably be accumulating in. I can't say that's what everyone should be doing. I'm not a financial advisor, but the point is that it looks like there was a lot of historic support around that area back in, what was that date? 2020, right before the SEC, or right when the SEC case the lawsuit was dropped on Ripple. So it's something to keep an eye on. Maybe we eventually return to those.
Okay. Any other charts you think are worth looking at right now, or does that about do it for today? Like I said, everything else is just kind of nothing too crazy. I was looking at the target rate probabilities for the Fed yesterday. It was 60-40 toward no rate hike. Today, with some of this new data, it has actually moved to 51-49 for no rate hike. So we're seeing more money moving, or the pricing in of 25 basis points is starting to happen. I think that's what's impacting the market today and why everything is down. So I think we're starting to see, there was a lot of people who were like, okay, that was the last hike last week. I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to continue to see it. I think the inflation readings over the next couple of weeks, starting this Friday, are not going to come in very well. And then as far as economic reports tomorrow, we'll get some more data on the housing market. That's another interesting one right now. People are talking about residential, the residential real estate market, commercial real estate, all of these things that haven't really gotten hit as hard as equities. And I think that that's what's coming next. It's been a really weird time in the housing market. Sales are down significantly because people don't want to sell at their lower interest rate and then have to, jump in with the interest rates currently at 6-7%. Like, no one wants to do that, move from 3 to 7. Like, that's a terrible idea. So it's an interesting time, and just another example of how these Fed rates and how you need to price them into more than just, what's going to happen in the markets. Like they're impacting a lot of different things, from mortgage rates, housing market, credit cards, all car loans, all these things. So when people are like, why does this, why does a quarter of a point matter to me? Well, it matters in a lot of different ways. And if you aren't aware of that, you need to become aware of that.
Yeah, definitely. And then, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's, I'm not going to say idiotic, because a lot of people just aren't aware of, how, well, no, because we're in the financial markets, and people who are expecting zero rate hike, they should know and be a little bit more realistic in tune with how, economics works. But no rate hike right here just seems absolutely idiotic to me. I just don't see a place where they're going to just, okay, we're not going to do what we said we're going to do. I don't understand. Like, again, we talked about this before. Why do people think that Powell's just going to like psych out the market? Dude's telling you exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a hard game to play if all you do is listen. And then again, it's like when you look at this bear market, all you have to do is look. You have to look and see, okay, what's bearish, what's bullish. One weighs more than the other, and it's the bear hand at the moment right now. So
Powell literally said last Wednesday that their target rate was 5.1%. That would require another 25 basis point hike. Like, they laid it out right there. Now, can that change with data? Also, yes, because he has said time and again ad nauseum that he's going to keep looking at the Fed is going to keep looking at the data that comes in, and that's going to inform their decision. So yes, the expectation should be another 25 basis points based on what he said. But if we get negative data, we can start talking about 50 basis points. If we get positive data, then we can start talking about, no rate hike. I also am very interested to see if they revise any of the most recent inflation data, because that has happened fairly consistently over the last 6 months, with this new inflation, calculation that they rolled out to try to make it look better. So I don't think people can rest on their laurels quite yet. If you are calling for the return to a bear market, if you're out here saying that, or a bull market, if you're out here saying that the bears are, I saw someone tweet like, if you're a bear, you're a coward. I'm like, all right, man.
Yeah, I saw
and that was a funny one. Like spelled it out. I'm like, it's good to see that you can spell, buddy. But it doesn't really, your feelings on it don't matter. The market's going to do what the market is going to do, and you just have to be willing to adapt to that, and make sure that you don't have too much at risk. Have cash on the side to buy, when we do see these massive dips, because they're coming. So that's my final thoughts on it. Any other things before we wrap it up, Kev?
Yeah, I just want to take one more look at Bitcoin dominance, because this thing is pulling back pretty nicely. And again, one thing I'm seeing is that the stochastic RSI is coming down, and we're still staying in that 47% capitalization over the entire market. That's strength to me, and that's not necessarily scary, because I do expect the price to go way further down. But when I look at this, I'm like, okay, we're gonna definitely see some strength against altcoins. The altcoins are not bleeding to, they're not pumping at all. Again, XRP is the only one that seems like it's moving to the upside right now. But Bitcoin dominance, I don't think it's done yet. I think we're seeing more legs on the upside that could maybe even go higher than what we were in June. June we were at 48.4%. Right now we're at 47.28%. Actually see maybe even a 50. Have 50% of the entire market controlled by Bitcoin. It'd be really interesting to see, and I also know that would be extremely devastating if Bitcoin decides to dump at that time. So it'll be something that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. I'll definitely keep us posted on the show, on Twitter. This thing can start pumping out of nowhere. But very exciting times we're living in for Bitcoin and altcoins and crypto in the United States and international markets. But nothing else other than that.
Okay. That should do it then. Good show today. Thank you everybody for watching. Please hit that like button once again. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, drop a comment, share us out if you enjoy our content. We'll be back again tomorrow. Another episode, Monday through Friday. You know the deal. So thanks everyone once again for watching. Kevin, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.